All right. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unleashing Potentials podcast. So, joining me today is Lauren Rose, all the way from Texas. Lauren, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. Can you tell us more about you? Who is Lauren? What you do? Anything you'd like to share to start?
Sure, I am a disabled wife and mom. I live with multiple types of chronic pain, depression, and anxiety. I was adopted when I was 9 weeks old, and I am a survivor of multiple types of trauma and abuse. And last year, back in September, I decided that I wanted to do something great with my life. And so I started a blog and a podcast, my It Hurts to Mom brand. And just been trying to put good into the world and encourage people, specifically with chronic pain and illness, really.
That's amazing. We have that in common for sure. Chronic pain is very real.
Mm.
What are some myths that you've heard or noticed how people treat people when it comes to chronic pain?
So a lot of my pain, I walk with a limp, but other than that, my conditions are pretty invisible. So there are a lot of myths out there that if you just do yoga or if you just drink more water or if you just were to exercise,
Hmm.
your chronic pain would completely go away and everything would be great. you
Hmm.
know, um, so that those are big ones. Other ones just are okay, it's probably not as bad as you're making it sound. You're exaggerating. You just are flaky and undependable. Um, Things like that, and they're very hurtful
Hmm.
and not true because I mean I do the best I can with my chronic pain, but there are times and there are days when I can't make it to doctor's appointments or social gatherings or I can't get up and do chores or anything like that. So I'm blessed to have a husband and a daughter who are very supportive and understanding
Hmm.
and don't ever make me feel less than,
Hmm.
because I can't do certain things.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Because at times, people with chronic pain do get looked down upon, especially when we have to cancel social gatherings.
Mhm.
And some people may say they understand, but they really don't understand because it hasn't happened to them, right? Have
Mhm.
you been in a situation where you had to cancel plans, and what was that person's reaction to that?
Trying to think. Um, I mean, I have to cancel a lot of plans. The but my family and close friends are really understanding. What I usually try to do instead of canceling is I'll try to go, but then I will, if I need to, go lie down or, if I need a break or if I need to take medicine and the medicine needs to kick in. So I usually try to attend, but yeah, there are times where I just can't. And most of my social gatherings are with my sister-in-law, and she also has chronic pain.
Mm,
So she actually does understand
yeah.
what it's like when I have to cancel.
Hmm. And as a mom, I'm a mom as well. What are some everyday challenges you face, being a mom and a wife?
Yeah, a lot of it's the physical challenges. Luckily, my daughter's a little older now. She's 10, so she can do certain things by herself. But when she was younger, and even now, like I have to make her dinner if my husband's busy or not at home,
Mhm.
and I have to feed her.
Mm.
I have to give her attention during the day because all kids need to be played with, and that's a challenge. And of course, when she was a baby and I was having migraines and hearing her screaming was a challenge. So earplugs were my best friend back then.
Mhm.
Um, so really just physically taking care of a child is is really difficult. There's also the mental challenges, There's because I also suffer from depression and anxiety, and chronic pain makes both of those worse.
Mm. Mhm.
And both of those can make chronic pain worse. It's a terrible cycle.
Mhm.
So I spend a lot of time in bed with either chronic pain or depression or anxiety. And sometimes I struggle to get up and be present with my family because I've just got so much going on with my body and with my mind that it's hard to be motivated to get up and spend time with my family.
Mhm, mhm. I believe you because I go through a very similar thing. And I have mental health issues and then chronic pain and then trauma. And it all adds up. And it's not always a good recipe to go by. And I think many of us, we live in survival mode, especially those of us who
Mhm.
suffer with multiple illnesses. Some people don't understand that we're doing the best that we can just to get by. Some don't understand how hard it is, like you just mentioned, mentally, how it impacts everything that you do, right? Um, what would you say to someone who doesn't understand? To kind of give them a visual to understand kind of where you're coming from, even though they won't.
Educate yourself.
Mm,
So whether that's going and doing your own research or actually sitting down and talking to the person who has the illness,
mhm,
learning more about exactly what they're feeling and what they're going through
mhm,
is is really important. You know, if you care about that person and you want to understand as best you can, I think information is your best tool.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, I agree. As we're recording right now, I have pain in my back. And
Mhm.
it's just to keep getting by, to try to do what we love and what we want to do. Prior to me having chronic pain, I cannot say that I understood what it was like. But now it's happening to me. Oh boy, I have sympathy, empathy, and I love on people who are suffering with anything. Um, so, Lauren, you're also an adoptee. I was also adopted. Can you share anything that you wish to around your adoption story?
Sure. So my birth mom was 15 when she got pregnant. She was 16 when she had me. I she gave me up, at birth. I found I didn't know anything about her really until I DNA matched a first cousin back in 2020, and that led me to my birth mom. But apparently, they didn't give her more than 2 or 3 minutes with me before yanking me from her arms and taking me away from her.
Mhm,
And growing up, like I always knew I was adopted. My parents made a lot of mistakes, but that was one they didn't make. I always knew.
mhm,
But my mom did hide from me some of the things she knew about my birth parents.
mhm,
She had like a page that had information on like their height and their weight and their hobbies and things like that that she did not share with me till I was 16. And then she told me that I'd known about this paper my whole life. And I said, I would remember if I'd known about this my whole life. This is about my birth parents. And I went through a period of time, especially when I was about 13, where I was struggling with my adopted parents and I really was longing for my birth mom, and I became very angry at her for giving me up.
mhm,
And I prayed that God would put a curse on her and that she would know that it was from giving me up.
mhm,
Now that I'm older, I hope that he didn't actually fulfill that request
Yeah.
because I'm much more understanding now. It was just, I was extremely hurt at the time and I felt rejected in so many other ways from so many other people in my life
Mhm,
that that's kind of when my abandonment and rejection issues really started to come to light was in my early teens. And I have had abandonment and rejection issues, even to this day. I have trouble making friends and getting close to people because I'm afraid that they're going to hurt me.
mhm, mhm. Yeah. As an adoptee, hearing your story, I can tell you you're not alone because we always want to learn and understand why. Sometimes the reason behind the why isn't what we're truly seeking. We're looking for something deeper to add meaning and understanding, especially being so young. Um, I can definitely relate, to feeling rejection and not accepted. I also stay away and kind of push people away. Sometimes it's on purpose, sometimes it's not, but it all has to do with adoption.
Mhm.
Um, what does your adoption story look like versus when you were younger?
So, I was adopted when I was 9 weeks old. My adoptive parents, neither one of them could bear children, from what I understand.
Hmm.
And I mean, I always had a roof over my head and food and clothes, but my dad was verbally abusive and my mother was manipulative, and that really started becoming a problem when I was in my teens. And I developed an eating disorder when I was 15. That's also when my chronic pain started in the form of daily migraines and tension headaches, was about 15. So I was just really struggling with the loss of my birth mom and the things I was going through with my adoptive parents. And right now, my relationship with my adoptive mom is pretty good. We're not close. Like, I don't talk to her about my feelings and things like that, but things are pleasant.
Hmm.
And I didn't think that it would ever get there. My dad actually passed away in 2021 from brain tumors, but I learned to forgive him before he passed away.
Hmm.
So I have a lot of peace about that.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. There's so much power in forgiveness. I love that you bring the forgiveness part because sometimes when we have to forgive, we think that it's for that person when truly
Mhm.
it's for us. It's having the strength to just surrender and find peace. Um, did you ever struggle with forgiving him earlier in the stage of life when you were younger?
I did. I hated my dad most of my life. I mean, my dad, when I was 16 and in therapy for an eating disorder and suicidal, told me that I could kill myself and he wouldn't try to stop me.
Wow.
And and he told me that on 3 different occasions, just in case I didn't get the point the first time, I guess. So, even as an adult, I hated my dad, but, um, when he was dying the last year of his life, really, he just became very weak, and he was completely different than the man I knew, and he always treated my daughter wonderfully. He just adored her. I was very jealous of that because he never looked at me
Mm,
and treated me the way that he treated her. But I really just got to the point where I realized that he was dying, and there was no point in me hating a man who was going to be gone soon.
mm, mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that's true freedom. And it takes a lot of courage to do that. I also hated my dad. He passed in 2020, and it wasn't a good relationship, but I can say that I've learned from that. I think we can always learn from the challenges that we face, and also spread and share that with others as well, because it takes a lot of courage to do that. Mhm. Can you talk more about, um, if you're willing to, the abuse or assaults that you've been through, and how have you healed from them?
So, the first one happened when I was 18. It was my cousin. It was completely unexpected.
Mm,
I, was just hanging out with him one night, and I wasn't catching the clues that he was giving me that he was hitting on me. I I just didn't see that that's what was happening. And then all of a sudden, next thing I know, he's assaulting me, and I tried to fight him off, and he just laughed at me. And then I I kept all that in because, well, because I wasn't close to my family, I guess, and I was afraid of how they were gonna react. Um, and actually didn't tell them till I was 28, and I found out he was doing that to his daughter, and I tried to help her, but the even the judge didn't seem to care. Um, and then while I was dealing with that, I was just having an even worse relationship with my parents. And so I ended up dating a guy who was physically abusive. And um, 14 days after I had left home, he assaulted me and raped me. And then for the next 2 years was physically abusive and of course emotionally and verbally abusive too. Those frequently go hand in hand. Um, I got out of that relationship and I decided, like I did with my cousin, okay, it's over. I'm just going to push it aside and I'm just going to live my life. It's not going to affect me anymore.
Mhm,
But that's not how it works. It's not how trauma works. It does still affect you.
mhm,
So in my adult life, I've started trauma therapy, and I'm going through that right now, actually, trying to heal from my dad and from these other two relationships. It's going to be a process. I'm
mhm.
not anywhere close to being on the more healed side yet because I just started a couple of years ago. But I'm working through it.
Mhm, mhm. Wow. Whew. I'm fighting tears as you speak because I feel like you're speaking through me and you're
Mm,
sharing part of the pain that I've faced and that so many women faced. And the hardest thing is that it's taboo.
mm,
Just the idea that a family member can do that, right? And we feel silenced at times, not because we don't have anything to say, because no one's listening either way. We could be silenced, they're not listening. We could be speaking, they're not listening. And I'm so sorry you went through that. That is a lot of trauma to carry. But I think you're healing. I can hear it in your story and in your voice. It has impacted you in so many ways, but you're taking the steps that are necessary to move on and to teach others about that. So I congratulate you for that.
thank you. It's not easy. I have not gotten to the point where I can forgive my abusers yet.
Hmm.
They're on my list of people that I want to forgive, but I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, yeah. Mine also happened with a family member and other people. It was an uncle that it happened, and I was young, and it happened in the orphanage that I was in Haiti, and it happened with my dad's landlord.
Mm,
And I was also very young, right? Um, I've never really specifically described who did those things, but I think it's good that I'm finding the courage as I talk to you to share
mm.
that. And we may be strangers to each other, but our stories are, no, are not strange at all to share and to communicate. And I know there are so many other people who's going through very similar issue. What's a few advice that you would have for anyone who's in those situations right now or just recently escaped and trying to heal and move forward?
Get professional help. These things don't go away. It
Mm,
was, after I got married and I came out about what my cousin did to me, my husband noticed some of the things that I do were from that trauma. And he had no idea why I did those things.
mm,
But once he found out about it, he understood. Trauma gets trapped in our bodies and often manifests as chronic pain. Experts say somewhere between 50 to 80% of physical pain is from emotional pain.
mhm,
So it's not going to go away, so definitely just get help, cry, journal, whatever you need to do.
mhm, mhm. And I think the longer we avoid it, the worse it gets. Because this week I focused on trauma on a different show I did. Um, we try to avoid the pain because it does hurt, not only physically, but on a soul level and spiritually. Um, until we can surrender, then it's going to keep eating us alive, right?
Mhm.
Um, Tell me more about the work that you're doing. You have a podcast, correct?
Yes, it's called It Hurts to Mom, and, in 2017, I had to stop working due to my chronic pain, and I spent a few years just really depressed, and after I kinda came out of that depression, I found a new purpose in life, which was to help other people with chronic pain, mental illness, and previous trauma. I frequently focus on the chronic pain aspect because that's just such a huge part of my life, but the other 2 often go hand in hand, and so I started a blog and then a podcast, and I have people who come on with chronic pain. I have medical practitioners who come on and talk about different healing modalities or pain management modalities. We also just talk about parenting and life stuff in general. But the whole purpose is to make people with chronic pain not feel so alone,
Mm,
because statistically, 1 out of 5 people lives with chronic pain, and that's a worldwide statistic. That's a lot of people.
mhm,
1 out of 12 people lives with chronic pain that significantly affects their daily lives.
mhm.
That's 8% of the population.
Yeah.
So, 20% of people have chronic pain, and 8% of people have significant chronic pain.
Mhm,
And I know for me, it's been a very lonely journey these last almost 30 years.
mm,
And I just really want to encourage people and help them feel like they're not alone, because they're not.
mhm, mhm. Thank you for doing that. It is a lonely place, and it can be a place where we feel trapped and a place where we feel misunderstood and very hopeless. At least that was
Mhm.
my case, right? Um, did you ever get any diagnosis or as to what's causing or what has been causing your pain?
So first I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, degenerative disc disease.
Mm.
Um, the RA is an autoimmune disease. And then after um, a little less than a year, I ended up developing fibromyalgia as well. So I've got multiple diagnoses, plus I've got migraines. Um,
Wow,
so yeah, I've got multiple health diagnoses for my pain.
that is a lot. You're so strong to be open about it and just to help other people. Um, I also have different diagnoses. Um, Unfortunately, there isn't anything that they can do. I have to live with it, which was frustrating at first because when we go see healthcare professionals, especially when we're suffering, we want them to help us, not tell us, "Hey, there isn't much I can do." Right?
Mhm.
How did you keep having faith in spite of any diagnosis you got?
Well, for the first few years, I didn't. I felt like, now that I have chronic pain and I can't work, my life is over.
Mm,
But, you know, daily intentional gratitude helped me come out of that and just realize and focus on all the things that I do have and the things that I can do. Even if it hurts me, I still can do them.
mhm,
And then I also just realized that, God could take what I thought was a very broken life and make something new and beautiful out of it.
mhm,
And so I am just choosing to believe that my physical and emotional pain have a purpose, and that they're not for nothing.
mhm, mhm. I love that. I love your spirit and your willingness to share. Um, what does your morning routine look like to start your day?
So every morning at 5 a.m., I have an alarm that goes off, and I take um, my extended release pain medicine, another extended release pain medicine, and an immediate release pain medicine.
Mhm,
Then I, you know, lay in bed for an hour while those start to kick in. Then, during school, I get up at 6 and, eat a bar or something, and then go get my daughter up to get her ready for school. Now
mhm.
that it's summer, things are a little bit different. I still take my meds at 5 a.m. because I don't know when she's going to decide to wake up every morning.
Mhm,
Sometimes it's still going to be, 6:30, and sometimes like today it's going to be more like 8:30. So
mhm,
it just depends. but I usually am in bed for several hours of the morning because it takes my body several hours to get out of that really really extreme pain place first thing in the morning.
Mhm. So when you wake up in the morning, do you find yourself feeling more refreshed and have less pain, or how do you feel when you wake up?
No, I feel more pain than first thing in the morning.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. That is that's not the best start of the day. I
No,
love
my morning.
sleeping.
Oh, so do I. But mornings are absolutely my either mornings are my worst, and when I've done some kind of activity, it would be my worst also.
Oh my goodness. Sorry to hear that. I love to sleep. More in the morning, I feel refreshed, recharged. And then by 12 or 1 o'clock, that's when chaos starts in my body. It depends on what I'm doing. Sometimes I have to cut different activities. Do you find yourself having to, cancel, cut some stuff based on how you're feeling that day just to get by? I do.
Mhm. Absolutely. I like making a to-do list,
Mhm.
but I usually, I'm a kind of a go-getter, so I'll have this, huge to-do list, but then I'll get maybe two things done because any kind of activity makes my pain worse. So, um, yeah, I frequently have to move my things to do to the next day, then to the next, then to the next, to the next. I do miss, a lot of doctor's appointments. I try to make those, but there's just some that I just can't make, and I do have to miss church a lot, and and I just hate it because I feel like I'm not dependable, and being dependable is really important to me.
Mhm. Mhm.
But my chronic pain isn't dependable, and I have to remember that it's my pain that's not dependable. It's not me.
Mhm. Well, I struggle with those as well, and I can tell you you're not alone. And prior to me having chronic pain or anything, I was very independent. I would get my own stuff done and not ask for too much help. But I've missed church, and when I
Mhm,
try to explain to people, I cannot sit straight for that long, right? Not everyone understand it, even though it's church people. And then I miss doctor's appointments too. Some of them understand, some of them they get annoyed or they want to charge more.
mhm.
What would you say to those clinics or people about your pain for why you missed appointments? And there's no guilt and shame in that as well. I've missed so many.
Yeah, I hate all the fees
Yeah.
because they'll waive the fee if it's some kind of emergency, if your car breaks down or your kid's sick.
Mhm.
Um, and I feel like this is the same thing. We have no control over how much pain we're going to be in at
Yeah.
any point in time. And, if we were able to be there, we would be there. Like chronic pain, chronic illness people typically want to go to the doctor because we want our medications. We want to know what's going on with us. We want to be helped. We're
Mhm.
not just skipping because we've got other things to do.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, it's not laziness because we have the motivation to get help, to get out, and to partake in whatever society is doing. It's just our bodies limit us from doing that.
Yeah.
Um, what do you do to soothe yourself, soothe your pain? Are there certain hobbies or activities that you find that you enjoy and you can focus on?
I like to read. I like to journal. I mean, both of those I can't do for very long because neck pain and hand pain.
Mm,
I I like to just be with my daughter. If she's, watching YouTube Kids or something on the bed, I'll lie down and I'll put my arm around her. That really soothes me as being with my daughter and, snuggling her. And I do spend a lot of time in bed, like I mentioned before. I feel the bed is very soothing to me,
mhm,
and it probably shouldn't be, but it's just so warm and cozy, and I feel safe.
mhm,
And so when I'm in a lot of pain, that's where I want to be.
mhm, mhm. You're not alone. Um, those precious moments we spend with our kids, especially when we're suffering, I find that they help to alleviate. They give us purpose and meaning in life, just to keep going, to keep pushing through. Um, do you have one child or more?
I just have one. She's recently turned 10 and she's fantastic. She's very understanding about my pain and about my anxiety and depression. So she's great.
Hmm. That's awesome. Um,
Yeah, we
yeah.
were gonna have a second child actually, but once my body pain set in, I realized I I couldn't take care of a baby.
Hmm.
And so that was really hard because we'd planned on having two children. And so I had to go through a whole grieving process and grieve the loss of this child I couldn't have now.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. And it's hard to grieve. It's hard. Did you find different methods of grieving? Because I know we all do it differently for different reasons, and how someone grieve may not be how we should grieve. What are your thoughts on that?
I cried a lot and I talked to myself in my head a lot and kind of went back and forth between feeling guilty because, my
Mhm,
husband and I had decided on two children, but also realizing that it wouldn't be fair to a baby for me to bring a baby into this world knowing that I couldn't take very good care of him or her.
mhm.
So the when I finally got past my grieving, what I ended up doing was because at the time I was holding on to all my baby stuff while I was grieving,
Oh.
just in case. But finally, I've been able to, get rid of all of the baby stuff and either give it away or sell it.
Mhm.
And I feel like I'm in a better place now.
Oh, that must have been so hard. I can only imagine, as a mother, that
Yeah.
must have been really, really hard. And um, you're a very strong woman to have overcome all of those. Very, very strong. Um, what would you say to people that are grieving, not having a child that they want?
Mm. I think there are other ways that you can be an important figure in somebody's life besides just bearing a child.
Mhm,
So you can be an aunt or an uncle and be what that child needs in that area. Because aunts and uncles and even, non-blood aunts and uncles are often once a child gets a little older, like middle school and high school, those are the people that they go to because they don't want their parents anymore. They don't want their advice, but they'll go to their aunties and their uncles and ask for advice and actually listen to them.
mhm,
Um, there's also if you're able to foster an older child,
mhm,
um, or
mhm,
even adopt an older child that can do a lot of things for themselves. I just think there are multiple ways to fulfill your need for being nurturing besides just having a baby.
mhm, mhm. I love that. Thank you for sharing. Um, let's go back to adoption. What are some myths or facts that you wish everyone would know about adoption? Because there's so many things about adoption that's not true or accurate.
Um, well, from what I've learned, there are a lot of bad things that happen in adoption agencies and in
Mhm,
foster care. My niece was in foster care, and it was a really bad situation.
mhm,
And her birth mom was in foster care, and it was a really bad situation. Um, so there's a lot of corruption there. Um,
mhm,
a lot of adoption companies don't care about the mother or the baby. It's just a transaction to them.
mhm,
I know that because my brother's last girlfriend that he got pregnant was on meth and pot the entire time she was pregnant. And part of the program was she had to stop drugs for them to be able to take her baby and give him up for adoption. But she
mhm,
never stopped drugs. So this baby was born, with drugs in his system and still got adopted out because it wasn't about the baby or the mom. It was about making the money off of this transaction, and that's really sad.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, Also, just a lot of adoptees, not all, but a lot of us do have difficulty getting close to people. Um, there are some, like my adoptive dad was actually adopted by his biological aunt, and he viewed his adopted parents as his only parents. He never had a desire to find out more information about his birth parents or about his heritage or anything like that, like I did. Like I've always been curious, and so everybody's different. Every adoption story is different.
Mhm.
Adoption affects people in different ways, but for those of us who have the abandonment and rejection issues that come up from adoption, just give us some grace.
Yes.
We all went through the adoption trauma, and whether it manifests as trauma in somebody's life or not, it's still a type of trauma.
Mhm, mhm. It's a big one. It's a really big one. Maybe if I wasn't adopted, I wouldn't understand, but I'm grateful I
Mhm.
got adopted because I've been through it. I can share. And because you've been through it, you can also share just like you're sharing. But it's a lot. Um, to not wanting to get close to people. I struggle with that to this day. I probably will for a long time. And it takes a lot of work. I love that you say that to give us some grace because we need it to get by.
Yeah.
We do. We all deal with the issues, just being abandoned because it starts from when we got adopted. In my case, at least, I felt that my parents didn't need me. Why give me up? What was the
Mhm.
story? But now I can see it was, because they wanted the best for me, even though the scars are still there, right? Um,
Right.
yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to share with my audience? What's on your heart?
I'd love to share about living with chronic pain.
Please go ahead.
So I've got 4 tips that I love to share, and I'll just go through them quickly.
Mhm,
So the first one is talking to your friends and family, including your kids, about your chronic illness. They have, books. There's one book called "Why Does Mommy Hurt," and it helped me to explain to my child why I had chronic pain and why things were a little bit different for her.
mhm,
Um, so just educate yourself and then educate your family, like we were talking about earlier,
mhm,
and not just a one-time conversation. Talk about it frequently as it's coming up. So, like, I have got really bad anxiety, and so does my daughter. And I was having an anxiety attack several months ago, just trying to clean off a desk, and I just couldn't do it. I just got so overwhelmed. But because she understood what I was going through, and because we talked about this, she was 9 at the time. She was able to just so she just patted my hand and she said, "Okay, mommy, here's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna start at this corner and we're just gonna move one thing at a time. That's all we're gonna do. Just one thing at a time." And
Oh,
she was able to get me past that anxiety because we talk about this as a family.
yeah. Oh, that's so
My
sweet.
I know, isn't it cute?
Mhm,
My second tip is to enlist help. So if you've got a baby, there are going to be plenty of people who want to help you with that baby. So even just having them come over and watch the baby while you take a shower or while you run to Target. Even toddlers, they can start learning to pick up their own toys. Older kids can learn to help you around the house. I think help also includes things like supplies, like if you need a knee brace or a back brace or a walking stick or a walker or a wheelchair, whatever it is,
mhm,
use that help.
mhm,
My third tip is self-care, and I can kind of hate using the word self-care because it's just so overused lately. I mean, yes, I mean, get good rest and, try to take good care of yourself. I also mean do something that you love every day. I also mean, if you're going through a bout of depression, get therapy for a short time or take, antidepressants for a short time. Take your medications for your chronic pain or chronic illness like you're supposed to. Don't be skipping them.
mhm,
Another big part of self care, listening to your body.
mhm,
So pace yourself, listen to your body, honor it, allow yourself grace and compassion. That's a big struggle for me, is to allow myself compassion for when I can't do anything.
mhm,
And Another part of self-care, the last part, is modifying tasks. I modify just about everything that I do because it hurts me to stand for more than a couple of minutes. So I sit while I do anything. I sit while I put my makeup on. I sit while I do the dishes. I sit while I do the laundry. I sit while I cook. I've got multiple types of chairs in different rooms, and I just sit while I do everything. So whatever tasks you need to modify, go ahead and do it. You'll be able to get things done without any shame.
Mhm.
And my last tip is just be present. So I can't sit on the floor and play dolls with my daughter for an hour, but I can sit or lie on her bed for 20 minutes and play dolls.
Mhm.
Or if she wants to play a board game, I can lie on the couch and have her move the little pieces and just give her that attention. That's really what our children, especially, but really what our friends, our family, our children need is just for you to be there as you can. And if you need to go lie down in the middle of, family game night, do it. You
Mhm.
know, if you need to go put ice on your back in the middle of family dinner, that's okay. I do those things too. I can't show up for everything, but the things I can show up for, I try to listen to my body and just be as present as I can.
Mm. I love all those tips. Can we find them on your blogs and
Mm.
podcasts?
They're definitely on my podcast here and there. I probably need to make a worksheet or two with these, but
I'd love
um,
those. If you ever
okay,
do that, please send them to me if you don't mind.
sure, I'd love to.
Yeah. Yeah, they sound easy, but I think they're
Mhm,
fruitful, meaning we can benefit from them because so many of us we try to do more than we are capable of just to kind of catch up with other people, right? I tell people it's not a competition. I love that you modify what you do because it's working for you how you want it to work. I love all of that. Um, yeah, what are 3 books that you would recommend to my audience, and why? It could be relating to pain or anything.
The first would be A Day Without Pain by Mel Pohl, Pohl. And I like that book because it really helped me understand the biology of pain
Mhm,
and how pain signals are created in the brain.
mhm,
And it just helped me feel like this isn't just, in my head. I'm not just making this up. These pain signals are real. So
mhm,
I really enjoyed that book. Excuse me.
mhm.
The
That's a
second
really
book
good book. Yeah, go ahead.
have you read it?
I'm going to get it. I was just writing it down as you were talking about it.
Yeah, I liked it. My
Yeah.
second book would be The Body Keeps the Score. So if
Oh,
you've had
I've
any
read
kind
that
of
one.
yeah, if you have any kind of trauma, it's a fantastic book.
Mhm. Yeah.
And my third book, if you are a person of faith, would be a book I just finished reading and doing a study on. It's called The Uninvited Companion by Scott E. Shawm.
Mhm,
And it's about how we can get from a place of why God, why am I going through all of this? Why do I have this pain? Why do I have these health issues? To how God can I walk well with you
mhm,
through these difficult times?
mhm,
It was a really fantastic book for my group. We all really enjoyed it.
mhm. I love all 3 books. I've, read the second one. The third one I'm really interested in, because it blends in with faith.
Hmm.
As a Christian, the very first thing I asked was why? Why God,
Hmm.
right? And, there was a time when I was mad at dad, if I'm being honest. I know
Sure,
I'm not the only one, right? I was like, "Why
sure.
all the suffering? Why?" And then as I reflect on asking why, all of a sudden a thought came to my mind, why not me, right?
Hmm.
Why can others suffer and I don't suffer? How can I grow and evolve as who I'm becoming if I don't experience any suffering or pain?
Hmm. And
Mhm.
that's what this book talks about. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up for sure. Before we wrap up, let me know if you have any final thoughts or words of encouragement for anyone who's watching or listening.
Yeah, my biggest encouragement is that our circumstances do not have to control our destiny or our attitudes. We can control those things. So,
Mhm,
no matter what has happened to us in the past, we can be more than that. We can rise above all of that and become whoever we want to be.
mhm, mhm. I love that. I have 5 signature questions I ask at the end of each episode. The
Okay.
first one is, what does potential mean to you?
Potential.
Mhm.
Potential means the ability to become more than what you are.
I love that. What is your favorite song?
My favorite song is probably um, it's a Linkin Park song, and I suddenly forgot what it's called. Crawling. It's called Crawling. And the reason I love it is because it was the first song that I'd ever noticed on the radio that was really raw and vulnerable as far as emotions go. And I
Mhm,
really became a fan of that band because of that.
mhm. I'm writing it down because I am crawling. We are crawling. We crawl every day to get by.
I know. I know.
Yeah, yeah, we are. Who is your favorite
Yeah.
author?
Lisa Turkhurst right now.
I love her, and I love
Hmm.
her workbooks and everything she does. That's so cool.
Yeah,
Um,
she's changed my life.
yeah, I believe you. I do. Do you like dogs or cats?
Uh, Cats.
Me too. The last question is, what's your favorite movie?
The Princess Bride.
Oh, nice. That's so cool.
An
Well,
older movie, 1989, I think.
oh, okay, okay. That's really cool. Lauren, thank you so much for everything that you're doing. Thank you for spreading hope, love, light, and for giving pain a voice. Before I let you go, please let me know where our listeners can find you.
Oh, yes, please. So my podcast is called It Hurts to Mom. It's on Apple, Spotify, and all of the other major platforms.
Mhm.
My website is ithurtstomom.com. My Instagram is at It Hurts to Mom. My Facebook is facebook.com/It Hurts to Mom. And my Gmail is ithurtstomom@gmail.com.
I love it. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to be sharing all the links of those so people can find you. Thank you for your time. I appreciate everything that you do. Thank you for trusting me to ask you questions and communicate and connect as women, as mom in pain and having issues in life and just getting by. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.